Hello, good morning, everybody. I'd just like to welcome you all to our webinar this morning, which is on what's coming in the April wave release of D365 Business Central. Yes, just like to thank everybody for their attendance today. This is scheduled for 30 minutes. We might not quite need the full 30-minute session, but our aim today is to go through what's due for release, and we'll talk a bit about that in a moment, in the upcoming wave release, which is in April of this year. Just to introduce you to our team today, speaking at the moment is myself. My name is Matt Evans-Peace. I'm the sales director here at Enhance. Been working with the organisation now for 7 years, and I've worked within the ERP side of the business throughout that period as well. I'm joined today by Steve Dybel. Steve is one of our senior Dynamics 365 consultants. I'm sure for those of you that are joining us today, you may have worked with Steve on one of your projects as well, so he'll be talking through the content of the wave release that's due out in April.
Good morning, everybody.
So just in terms of the agenda, so first thing I'll do is just start with a small disclaimer. Now, this is a preview, so all of the functionality that we're going to be showing you today in terms of what's planned in this release is subject to release by Microsoft. So, you know, the roadmap for Business Central is very much a live one. It's very much evolving, and we do sometimes see certain areas that are lined up for release that sometimes don't quite make it through. So it's just to mention that the stuff that we're going to go through at the moment is currently scheduled for release, but it is possible that it may not come through in final release. But we'll touch a little bit more about how that works during the presentation. But in terms of what we're going to cover today is we're going to go through the sort of core application changes. Really, a lot of them are within the kind of project/jobs module and sort of core modules. We're then going to talk a bit about the changes that have been kind of thick and fast around Copilot and AI innovation. We're then moving into adapting faster with Power Platform, a little bit around some of the changes on user experiences, and then we're going to get into the kind of smaller changes and also open up at the end for Q&A. Worth just mentioning that if anybody does have any questions that they want to pop through in the Q&A chat, please feel free to do so, and we will answer those in the chat at the end as part of the roundup Q&A. All lines are muted, so it won't be an audio Q&A, so if you have got any questions, please do pop them through and I'll be checking them as Steve presents. So that's it for me for now. I'll come back to you all at the end of the presentation, and I'll now hand over to Steve to take you through the changes. Over to you, Steve.
Okay, thanks very much, Matt. Right, okay, so this is called basically the 2024 Wave 1, and the reason why Microsoft call it waves, because they do 2 a year in April and October, is because they trickle feed the actual changes throughout between, so this wave 1 will be trickled in between April and September. They give us an indication, so Microsoft gives us an indication of what's coming, and this is what we can view. So I've looked at what's coming. It's sometimes a little sketchy, the information, and we don't know the full details until we get to an area that's called a preview. And we can get a preview via the, you can create sandboxes. In fact, it's not just ourselves, even you yourselves can, on the admin side of Business Central, create a preview on the 1st of March. And you can do this again 1st of September. So the preview just gives you a month to play with some of the new features and feedback to Microsoft. So it looks a little different on the Business Central side, because sometimes you'll get these little prompts to say, oh, give us some feedback, because we'd like to know. So this is really, you know, this is the first stage that Microsoft do. They give us a set of instructions or what's new, kind of paragraphs as to what they think is going to come, and even some screenshots. So they kind of just give us a, you know, they kind of like teasers as to what's going to happen. So Microsoft, what they've done in this particular wave, the application side, they've kind of give projects, which used to be called jobs, and it still is called jobs at the moment. They've given it a bit of loving. Oops, 1 second, I've skipped too many slides. Okay, sorry, my cursor's moving it on before without me even touching it. Okay, so yeah, they've decided they want to give a lot of love to projects. They've realized it's been left behind a little bit as they progressed on certain areas. So I've just got 3 very brief slides on projects. Again, it's just text and a couple of pictures where they've given us the pictures. The main feature, so use standard terminology for project management. So it's always been really known as project accounting in a lot of ERP systems. And they've realized that when they first started out and used the terminology jobs, that it didn't really sort of cover what everybody believes it should be. So they've now decided to, throughout the project management module or project accounting module, decided to change the name from jobs to projects. So it's a kind of a big one for Microsoft to do this. They don't normally want to change names too much. But certainly this is definitely what they've done. So they've now got projects. So in the top left-hand side, even though you search for jobs, it will bring you projects. And all the windows now will be relating to projects, not jobs. Okay. And then on the other side, you've got additional fields now within projects. So you can now put in default locations. So if you were to create a project card, which is basically a list of tasks within inside a project, you've now got the ability to enter location codes and bin codes. So you can actually state if you're pushing inventory onto a particular project now, you can now do that and now define exactly where it's coming from and which bin if it's a product, which is great news for certain users of project. And the other aspect they've got on this screen is the invoice to multiple customers by project task. So it doesn't have to be one project, one customer. You can actually do it on the line level. So here we have a delivery that's happening and then an installation. And it could be that it's actually going to 2 different customers. Okay, and you could charge the 2 separate customers based at line level, which again is a change from the current projects. And then moving on to the next slide, assemble to projects. So again, they've added an extra field for projects by allowing you to assemble, to do assembly transactions. So it's really kitting, really. Oops, it's done it again. One back. So yes, it's kitting. So allowing kitting when you, in this case, in this example, it's a conference bundle. So the conference bundle in anybody that's ever played in Cronus is a collection of a table and a couple of chairs. In this case, 6 chairs possibly, and a table. So, and 4 of those lots are going to be assembled and sent across. So this could be a project to decorate the conference room, for example, and add in a new table and chairs, okay, as well as the costs of decorating and painting. So they've now given us the ability to hit quantity to assemble, which is fantastic. And then the final part, invoice a customer for multiple projects. So you could have multiple projects for the same customer. And it used to be almost invoice a project is invoicing a customer. Okay, so it's a one-to-one relationship. So what they've decided to do, Microsoft decided to do, is allow you to actually just create an invoice and use a prepare, which is similar to the purchasing side as well. You know, you might have multiple invoices against receipts. And therefore you want to select multiple receipts. But in this case, it's an invoice collecting multiple projects, okay, or project lines in this case. So like I say, they've done a lot of loving for projects. And if I just move on to the next one, the final slide for projects, they have added in more data. So they've given you usability improves for service and projects. It's done it again. I don't know whether it's my mouse playing up this one. Yes, so usability improves for service and projects. What they've done is they've decided the fact box already existed, but wasn't really giving you much facts when you selected a particular line. And this is for not just projects, but service management as well, field service within Business Central. So they've decided, yeah, we'll make some improvements here and give you some more data. And then the other side, on the project side, is timesheets. So they realised that timesheet entry can be a bit laborious, so they've tried to, or have attempted to try and speed this up by, certainly on this particular case, they've added an item reference number. So, sorry, I should meant to say service lines have entered an item reference number as an extra field on the service side. But on the timesheet side, to speed up timesheet entry, they're allowing you to duplicate projects and tasks from the previous row, and also copy from other previous timesheets that you may have entered. Okay, so there's no image for this one, but again, it's Microsoft's main thrust here is to give love to the project series and try and improve the timesheeting. So it's kind of all brief. We've got the idea because at least 30% of what they've shown relates to projects. So they really have tried to improve on the project side. But obviously not everybody in the audience today are just kind of wanting to concentrate on projects. So what Microsoft have also done is they've got lots of the core side. And so the first one on the core side is using deferral codes in purchase and sales journals. Don't know why it's got a mind of its own today. Yeah, purchase and journals and sales journals, you tend to use them in Business Central more for, I don't know, utility bills on the purchasing side, for example. So instead of creating an actual purchase invoice with lines, you can create a purchase journal. We tend to use them a lot for opening balances, that kind of thing. But again, you can use them for utilities. So they've now added the deferral code, which is what we can see here. So brand new deferral code field. And then on the general ledger side, they've done a bit about multi-currency. They realized that there are some aspects within multi-currency which needed to be improved upon. And this is quite there's no screen, there's no image for this, but it's quite an interesting one because, and I've highlighted the word subledger. So what they're saying is they've got a new GL revaluation feature that simplifies revaluations. Okay, so for the general ledger account that you use for revaluations, you can turn on a general ledger account subledger. And you kind of think, what the heck is that? And it's all brand new, not quite sure what it is yet. All I have is this piece of text saying there's a new account subledger. However, if this is a new subledger, it states here that it will hold the original currency value of the transaction and any adjustments that you made using the adjust currency exchange rate batch job. Okay, so that actually means that you can actually look at the subledger to see the before and after, which sounds fantastic because we didn't used to have that. We used to have to go back to the standard GLs and try and work backwards. It wasn't particularly great on the currencies side. So this sounds fantastic, and they've only kind of sneaked it in a little bit. And there's another one later on which I'll tell you about where I think could be quite powerful. But again, that's all I've got, 4 lines of text, no real sort of explanation behind it until we get to the preview. Okay, so it sounds very exciting, that one. Okay, so the other side, they've given you, so use new Excel layouts for 35 selected, I wonder why it keeps doing it. So 35 selected reports. So initially finance, sales and purchasing, and then later fixed assets, inventory, projects and service management. So yeah, I don't know about the later because it says later. So I don't know how far later that could be, whether that's then, you know, wave 2 this year. But certainly they're going to do something for finance, sales and purchasing. And you think to yourself, yeah, okay, 35 new reports that are Excel layouts. What is that? Again, we don't know exactly what it is. However, what they have said, and again, I put the piece of text in, that creating your own Excel layouts for the report. Okay, so they're going to give you more options in creating your own Excel layouts, but also get data from the report and request pages and data for translations of a layout. So it's almost sounds a little bit like Power BI and the way that Power BI, you connect to a web service and you see a list of tables on the right hand side, and you can bring those tables onto your report and manipulate the data. So that's all Power BI. The Excel version, current Excel version, is really kind of the same way you bring in a web service, and then you've got to do a lot of manipulation through the MS query within Excel. This one sounds like this, and I have to use the word sounds like, that they're giving you the ability to create your own Excel layouts using and collecting data from multiple tables. And not only that, but the report layout shows the data in multiple worksheets, okay, where it makes it easier to understand where the data originated. So this, again, is a small snippet, but sounds quite promising, you know, as to how we can actually, you know, grab data, another method of grabbing data, pushing it into Excel and doing reports on the table data. Okay, because obviously most of you will know that you can't actually get access to the tables. You have to use, you know, the tables in the background are SQL tables, and you have to use web services to connect to them. So it's a really fascinating one, that one, and I'm quite excited when 1st of March comes around just to see exactly what that one is. Okay. And then a little bit further down, use currencies when posting employee transactions within a general journal for both expense and payments, which can differ. So I think their idea here is that you can do employee transactions. So when you do employee transactions on a general journal, you potentially could have an expense in euros if you were lucky enough to go to Europe, and when you come back to the UK, you can get payment in sterling. Okay, I've got no image, no details behind it, but I'm just reading out a statement for those of you that do employee transactions. Okay, and the other one, the final one, the CVAT date in posting previews and VAT entries and GL entries. Okay, so this is basically whenever you do any postings, so any sales invoices or purchase invoice postings, you can always hit the preview button before you do the postings, and then it gives you all the ledgers that it's going to post to. So it normally stands at the top, says general ledger, and then underneath it says, you know, the sub ledger, and then more towards the bottom it says VAT, you know, what postings are going to VAT. So now they've decided that yeah, we'll put the VAT date in there, okay, just in case it differs from the posting date. Okay, so that's a new feature they've decided to put on. It was part of some rule that they've decided that certain countries, they would like the detail to be seen, so Microsoft have added that. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one. So, exciting stuff, Copilot and AI innovation. So, as you may have heard, let's go back. As you may have heard, Copilot is, and certainly AI has hit the headlines quite a lot at the moment. And Copilot is the Microsoft offering, and Microsoft are pushing it into their products, including Business Central. And it's kind of they've introduced it already. I think one of the first areas they introduced it on was on item cards, where you could. Well, actually, a little bit like eBay. When I was selling something the other day, there was a little. You can put pictures on, and it's the same thing. You put pictures in into Business Central of a, I don't know, table and 6 chairs is what I was selling actually, and then underneath that you have a little screen that says, okay, describe it, and you can click on a Copilot button, and it gives you a very marketing style element of text to say, you know, this is a fantastic, gorgeous wooden table with 6 chairs and, you know, leather seating or brown seating. It basically looks at the picture and then goes online, looks at other flowery language or marketing language, sorry, and puts a very nice piece of text. So when I was selling my 6 chairs and table on eBay, it did exactly the same thing. I thought, wow, I couldn't have done a better job myself. I want to buy my own products. So so that's where they started off. So Microsoft started off on the inventory side, and they've slowly introducing more aspects within Business Central, but also on other areas. So the top part here is introduce Power Automate Copilot integration. So Power Automate is the new name from Power Flow. you may have met flows, or now called Power Automate, if you are doing workflows outside of Business Central. So standard Business Central has workflows, and most users that I know of, or most of our clients, use the standard where they can, mainly because the main area was it does auditing as well, so it can tell you exactly who approved it and what date, what time. So if we could try and stick to standard, then it didn't really go outside. However, there is Power Automate workflows as well, and they're a little bit complicated when you first go into them. And they have made some improvements, which is a bit further down on this session. But they've decided, no, well, let's put a Copilot box in where you can ask questions and say, oh, could I have it so that it is a yes, no answer, that kind of thing, yes, no prompt. And it will actually build based on what you'd like. It doesn't always, it's not always brilliant, but it's certainly new. Yeah, hopefully. And you'll see at the top, there's no firm dates when any of these are out. So all the others have got a start date. So everything I've shown so far has a start date of April 24. Yeah, in 2 months' time. Whereas none of these actually have a date yet. And the second one below. So the second one below, map e-documents to purchase order lines to ensure correct quantity receipts invoicing. Okay, and you think, wow, what's that? So previously was a standalone invoice or purchase journal. So you can bring in documents that you collect from email. You can bring them in, and then you would then have to read the email, and then you can put it in as a input document. But it's an invoice, so it's an invoice image, and you put it in as an invoice. Okay, there's no link back to a purchase order or purchase receipt lines. So what they're doing is they're allowing, or Microsoft is saying that they're allowing e-documents, so any electronic documents that come through from suppliers, to link back to purchase order lines to ensure correct quantity receipts for invoicing. Okay, so that is quite a game changer, because Enhance we have our own electronic invoicing in one of our other products. And one of the hardest areas that is when an invoice comes in to match it to receipt lines or purchase order lines. But we did that on another product, but Microsoft are now bringing that through on the Copilot side. So yeah, that would be interesting when that comes in. So that would be quite a big difference. And then the third one on this screenshot, create sales lines easily. Okay, it's quite a bit of a funny one, really, because there are already two different types of methods. Well, quite a few different types of methods of putting lines on a sales order. So you could just free type, if you know that it's a Mexico swivel chair, for example, in the example I can see, I can start typing in Mexico and it finds it. So it automatically has that without Copilot. The other thing is from emails. You can get an email from a customer and have the Outlook connector that says, oh yeah, so this person wants a bag of I don't know, dog treats. 4 bags of dog treats, and you have a link already in Business Central to Outlook, and it will go, oh yeah, okay, I know this customer, so we'll create a customer, and I can see it says 4 bag treats, 4 bags of dog treats, and it creates a line for you. So that's already in-house. I mean, that's already in play now and has been for a couple of years. This one is all about get line suggestions as well. So this is a bit like, you kind of know you want a swivel chair, but you can't remember which country it's from. I mean, this is Mexico. So you could have said, I don't know, what would that be? South American swivel chair or something. So standard Business Central wouldn't be able to know what a South American chair is. It wouldn't be able to bring you a Mexico swivel chair black. So by using get line suggestions in with Copilot, you can start to say a little bit different words, and Copilot will then try and work out, I've got something, Mexico's in South America, hopefully it is. So it must be Mexico because there's no other. So it will actually suggest the Mexico swivel chair. So Copilot does have more power than Business Central because it's not looking specifically at the words. It kind of relates the word to the, in this case, a continent or an area, sorry. So they've added this. How much fun it will be, I don't know yet. So we'll certainly find out when that comes out. So the other one, this is a really good one as well. So I don't know how many of you have used the Analyze button, but the Analyze button, you'll find it on a lot of the sort of list pages. So any kind of list page, vendor ledger entries, customer ledger entries in Business Central, they all have this Analyze tab. So you can switch it on and then you go, right, okay, so you get this sort of all the fields on the right hand side as though you're a little bit like, I don't know, for anybody that used to use Dynamics GP, it looks a bit like smart lists in GP world. So there's all these columns on the right hand side you can bring in, you can drag and drop, and there's some pivoting that can go on as well. But it's actually, sometimes it's like hit and miss as to whether you get the right thing. So what I like about this one is they've added Copilot here. So I don't know whether you can see this, but it says show. So it says analyze. What do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want to analyze? So it's a little bit like what you also get in Power BI, and where you can actually look at, views the data. This one is asking a question about the data. So if you type in show total quantity per type per unit of measure in this box here, it automatically has a go or attempt to create what you would like. So it even gives you items per type per unit of measure. So something, obviously there's a sensible one here, and it works with the sensible sort of items per type per unit of measure, and it gives you this. So we can see that there are 51 base unit measures, 1 days, 1 hours, 3 cans, okay, and the quantities involved in this. So this is quite a nice and neat idea to save you from trying to work out, which columns, which fields you're going to use to pivoting, what filters you're going to use. So it's a nice idea just to even just type something in and for it to appear. So I'm quite excited about that one. So I move to the next one. So this one's just more nice to have. So it's called Learn More About Fields. Some of you may have already decided, it's horrible. It's horrible. I click on a field and it gives me, quite a bit of text, but sometimes the text isn't great. Or it even might give me use the help function and it gives me a generic web page. And it's just not very helpful, because I think it used to have learn more is used to be underlined here. And it takes you you don't really learn anything. So they've added this Ask Copilot. So what Copilot does, it goes off to web pages. Okay, so this is what I've heard. It's not so much in the detail, but from what I've heard, it goes off to web pages, and even it potentially, and I say potentially because it's like another product I've seen, another actually Business Central web page I've seen. It will take you to almost like YouTube videos as well. So I'm hoping that's what it's going to do, but certainly it's going to be better in terms of the information it's got. So it's not just reading text about a field or learn more, which takes you to a generic web page. Ask Copilot, I'm hoping it will take you and direct you to more information about it, at least something about it, like a learn page or a blog, something along those lines. That's really going to be quite helpful. And then this final bit is bank account reconciliations faster. So what we have here is, and this actually has been around already, which is why I'm a bit excited, because I can actually do a demo rather than just talk. So this has been around actually from about November. So if I just show you what the Copilot does on the bank side, so if I just look at, so this is just a sample Kronos UK Limited. And if I just go to just show you bank reconciliation, so nothing really new about the getting to the page. They've added a new option here called Reconcile with Copilot. So like I said, this is should already be on your system. They've added this here, although if you click on this button, it's already expecting you to have started a reconciliation process, or at least just said which bank account and added in some details that you're going to go with. So if you were to click on Reconcile with Copilot here, it's then expecting a statement to be brought in. So I'm not going to do it this method. I'm just going to actually go in first, just to show you this. So if I go in standard bank recs, so I've got my transactions on the right hand side here. If I look at my left hand side, I've got no bank statement lines yet, so I just need to bring in import my statement. So you saw it on the first screen, but I'm just going to import it here, and I just need to grab a file that has some nice statement lines in it that kind of hopefully match up a little bit. So I've got now statements on left side, transactions on right hand side. I can see certain values that that's a good match already. Some will match some different dates, 14, some with descriptions of Alpine, and I've got an Alpine here that might match. So if you were using standard Business Central, okay, so up until November you were using standard, so you had the idea of on the matching side either to match manually if it was an obvious one, or match automatically was probably the first area that you would go to first. So if I was to match automatically using standard Business Central, what's my payment tolerance? Normally around about 3 days is kind of the starting off the norm. Click on OK, and when I click on OK here, I can see 2 have been matched, okay, which is not too bad. So I've got Alpine at 2617, and there it is, and interest charge at 12094. Okay, so 2 matches. Okay. Now, if I was to reconcile with Copilot instead, so it's just going to remove the first matches. It's telling me, yeah, let's move those first because I'm going to redo it. So I hit yes, and then Copilot takes over and it does the BC match first, and then it does its own match. So the first part of this is auto match 2 of 7 lines, and we can click into it and see which 2 lines it's matched. So these are the same 2 lines that we saw a second ago. These are the Business Central matching, okay, based on 3 days. So Copilot, however, has matched 3, so a further 3. So 5 out of the 7 is now being matched, and it tells you the 3 that it's proposing. Okay, so it's got a payment, 10th of April, applying against a Datum corporation. You can even go into it, just double check. So I can just pop in to see and have a look at the ledger entries to see what it's matching against. And this is dated the 14th. So it's likely that's why it didn't appear in the BC one, because I had a 3-day difference. So this is 4 days. So it's included it in here because it's found going by date and value, and it's a fairly precise value, that, so it's got a good chance. So it's only a proposal, but I'm quite happy with that proposal. The next one, 14.4, Tray Research, and yes, it's found it, and it's got the word Tray Research. So it knows that the particular entry is relating to Tray, even though the description on the statement was Tray. So it's matching it up by going through a few hoops to find out who the actual, in this case, customer was. And then this one is an interesting one, because on the 15th, Nod Publishing, they put in 2 invoices totaling 12,686, and the proposal says apply to multiple entries and drill down 2. Okay, so if I select this one, it is actually it's matched the 2. It knows that Nod had 2 payments that we sent to them. Okay, and then on our statement they appear as 1 line. So that's actually really nice, a really nice touch. So I'm quite happy with those 3. And again, you can go into it so I can keep it. And interestingly, I think you probably just hit keep it, but there was this thing about 74% is matched. If 100% had been matched, then you could have had the option to post this straight away. Okay, However, it's not 100% yet because I've got one left on this side called bank charge. So on my statement, I've got a bank charge. On the right-hand side, I don't have a bank charge. So how can I deal with this? Well, standard one, you can go to your banking, the home side. Yeah, so you can go with the home side. There is the option to transfer to general journal, which is standard Business Central. You've also got transfer to GL as well. So Copilot again, that's our Copilot symbol. Two types of symbols for Copilot as well, because the other one's like the two links one. So transfer to GL account. So if I select this, whoops, I've got to make sure I select the bank charge first. So if I hit the transfer to GL, it's saying to me, okay, yeah, it was the bank charge is what you selected, and we are matching. Copilot matched 1, okay, because we've only selected one line. And what it's proposing this time is to post the payment to account 3400. Now, the reason why it's doing this is because it knows that the particular general ledger account code is bank charges and fees. So by basing it on bank charges and fees, it knows, well, the description says bank charge. It could have been interest, and then we might have had a GL account for interest. Okay, so this differs from standard Business Central, because standard Business Central, you have to choose the account. You have to find the close match. This tries to do it for you. And once it does, then you can say, yes, I'm happy with that, and I can keep it. Okay, and it will go ahead and create the line. There's also a save option as well to say every time that we see the bank charge description, like standard BC, then it puts the account in for you automatically. Okay, so it does this very nicely and matching on description. Made it kind of easy for myself by calling it bank charges, so it kind of knew, although it's called bank charges and fees, it had the word bank charge in there, so that's quite cool. So quite happy with that one. So it will go away and create a line on this side. So there we go. The payment, bank charge, all fully, both sides all fully done, and we can go ahead and reconcile or post. Okay. So if I just come off this for a second and go back to our presentation. Okay, and just slide through these very quickly. It's way too far. Okay, so that was our demo. Okay, so just very briefly, a couple of slides to go. Adapt faster with Power Platform. Okay, so if you remember when I was talking about the Power Automate, oops, it's done again, 1 second. When I was talking about Power Automate and how Microsoft have now got Copilot within Power Automate, Microsoft are also giving Power Automate a bit of love because they want users to users were shying away a little bit from Power Automate within Business Central because of the fact that it doesn't. There's two real big problems with Power Automate is the fact when it comes to users. So if you want a certain set of users approving, I don't know, purchase order or purchase invoice, you have to go in and state which user that is within Power Automate. And the other aspect of it was there was no audit back into Business Central. You'd have to kind of store it locally within the Power Platform. Microsoft has realized where the loopholes is, and not just realized, they've listened to a lot of customers of theirs or feedback from ourselves and said, yeah, we know, okay, this is why, if we were able to get more users or customers using Power Automate, because Power Automate is a more powerful workflow product than the standard Business Central. You can do certainly a lot more within Power Automate that you can in standard Business Central. Something as simple as, out of office kind of thing, where you can get notifications, and you get notifications in Teams as well. So, it's not just relating to Business Central and Outlook and sending emails. It does push data into Teams or anywhere you want, or advise you that this person is on holiday and sends it to another approver automatically. So it has a lot of power, but the two sort of limiting factors were exactly the fact that how do you get the approval user from Business Central into the Power Automate? Well, Microsoft are now saying that they've done this. So you can now select approval users that have been set up in Business Central into Power Automate. And then the second task, the second area, which was limiting, was the auditing aspect. Okay, and that was to say, we need to know who approved it, what day, and when. And we need that in Business Central because this is where what we're looking for when we're looking at approvals. We're not wanting to go back to Power Automate. So now Microsoft have done this as well. And on top of all this, at the very end, they've created more templates and enabled for Power Automate approval integration. So they've actually added some more templates for yourselves as well to help you, design with Power Automate. And then they've also the second part of this with the Power Platform is Microsoft have a product called Microsoft 365 Field Service. It didn't really, even currently, doesn't integrate with the Business Central version of Field Service. So what Microsoft have done, they've improved the integration and actually created an integration that now runs smoothly into Business Central. Okay, so again, I don't know much about this until we actually see it. But yes, it's going to allow integrations to run more smoothly in order to create generating the accurate invoicing. Okay, and so moving on. So user experience. Two things, or a couple of things actually. Use drag and drop to attach multiple files. This is standard stuff. So on a customer card or vendor card, you normally might want to do an attachment. So you attach one and then you go back in and bring in again, say reattach and bring in another attachment. So they're now giving you multiple attachments. Okay, so there's no image there, but that's what they've given us. The other side is use actions to navigate and highlight or fix problems. So if a problem came up, so on the two images that you see here, if you started to type in 1907 as a product, it says it can't find the item. Okay, so it gives you a little bit more of a message rather than big red blob and highlight with big red, and it kind of gave you a banner at the top of the screen. Now it's giving you a little bit more text information, but also allowing you to copy details, share details to the team, or even share the details to Outlook as well. So it's more helpful messages. Okay, so friendlier message with copy button for more technical message. Okay, so they still give you the copy option. Okay, and this is just the same kind of screen as in it allows you to, this is a slightly different error. This is the line dimension value isn't valid. So this is the other error message that you can get as well in Business Central, where you can share details. Okay, and again, copy error details. That's the one that you will normally have anyway within Business Central, which will give you a lot of blurb, a lot of sort of Microsoft speak, and that's more for us sending to, enhanced support. Okay, where we can then push it over to Microsoft if we need to. Yeah, great. And share error details to get help from another key user as well. So somebody, for example, share details to Teams on the item number, and somebody might come back, yeah, it's not 1907, it's 1917 or something. Okay, so that's quite a nice little touch that they've decided to add this in. Others, my final slide. I'll go through this quickly. It's more of a list, really. This is an interesting one. The first one, install UK localization as an app. Just on a technical side, when we install Business Central or when we create an environment, it tells you, it knows already that you're in the GB or Irish environment, or even Europe environment. It knows which country you're in. And it builds it. So it builds. It has a base model with code. That's at base level. Microsoft decided, no, we're going to get rid of that. What we're going to do is we're going to have one base level, and then we'll layer an app on top. So in theory, you could have a sandbox in one version and in one country code and a production in another. You actually kind of have that anyway. But they are moving towards an app. Again, very limited information as to what exactly that entails. It does kind of beg the question whether they might change things like vendor to supplier, but I don't know. We don't know. That's all we've got, limited information on this. This is an interesting one. The second one down, I've put it in, encrypt data at rest with customer managed encryption key. It's kind of a double-edged sword, this one, because you can encrypt your data if you wish, and with an encryption key. But if you lost the key, that's it. I believe you're stuck. Okay, so again, limited information, but it is allowing you to have your data encrypted. And then the other one kind of follows on, really, allowing customers to consent to Microsoft support accessing their data. So if we were to log a call with Microsoft where Microsoft needed to come in and you needed to give Microsoft access to your data, if it's some, I don't know, I don't even know why they would want to come into your data, but if they did, it's basically some formality where you're making you're signing a document to say, yeah, you're allowing them access. So they've added this in. For those that potentially were using Shopify B2C, business to consumer, Microsoft are now offering a business to business option. And they're also offering a simpler Shopify connection to Business Central, which sounds great. And then the final one, discover, report and data analysis content easily. Okay, so nothing really brand new on this one. It's just really more on the searching of reports and data analysis content. When you click on the looking glass and you might start typing in, you kind of get stuff back and you think, that's not really relevant, but it's going to search on title or description. So they haven't said anything about using Copilot here to do searching, but it kind of saying, yeah, it's not just title anymore. We will try and also do a search on description. I think a classical one was, I think, inventory status or something. It's in Business Central world, it's kind of known as something slightly different, or historical stocks status report. And it'll go, oh yeah, I know what you mean now. It's for those, I guess, for those moving from different systems as well. But it does give you that option. Okay, so that should be the end of my slides, and hopefully it doesn't keep moving again. So any questions, anybody? And I guess this is where we need Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. That was really useful, very informative, and yeah, quite a lot of content there in the end. We've got off quite lightly. I don't think there are any questions in the Q&A. So I guess just to say that if anybody does have questions, we're happy to pick these up offline. If you want to reach out to your Enhanced Account Manager in the first instance, we'll pick up those questions separately. Just if you could just move to this slide. So just before we wrap up, there are a number of events on our website. You can see the URL at the bottom there, enhance.com/events. And what we are doing is we're trying to kind of preload our events page with as many webinars, on-premise events, and also any events that we're attending this year in 2024 as early as possible. So certainly encourage anybody to visit that page, have a look at those events that might be of interest to you, and get yourselves registered. It'd be great to see you at a future event. One announcement really very hot off the press that isn't on this slide. We have just finalised now 2 in-person events. One is on the 26th of March at the Microsoft office in Dublin, and that is an ERP event, and we're running that same ERP event in London on the 18th of April. Both of these events are, as I say, they're hosted at Microsoft. The London event will be attended also by people from Microsoft, and it's all very much around Business Central, the sort of power of the application, the wider Microsoft ecosystem, and I'm sure AI and Copilot will get another mention or two in those events as well. So it'd be great to see you along at some of those in-person events as well as these webinars. So I think that really just wraps up for this morning. Just like to say again, thank you very much for everybody that has attended. Thanks, Steve, as well for the great presentation. And we look forward to seeing you again on a future webinar or event in 2024. Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks very much, everybody.